Today I'm going to be talking about the big debate on racism, which is on YouTube, as well as the connection between the debate and the book Coconut, also the connection between the debate and the United States. So the big debate on racism brings together 5 debaters of different backgrounds and ideals. So it centers around Desmond Tutu's vision of a rainbow nation and how it plays out in the modern age, and if it has failed completely or is it just suffering at this moment. It also brings up the question, is it really a rainbow nation or a zebra nation polarized, only emphasizing black and white? Here are a couple of the main points brought up in the debate by the debaters as well as the audience, and there will be clips later on showing them. So the next topic is the connection between the debate and Coconut, and my group chose 3 main themes of how being black affects access to quality of education, as well as the lives and treatment of domestic workers regarding stereotypes and oppression, and the social divide in South Africa due to classism and racism. These are some of the quotes my group found in the book Coconut that relate to the 3 themes we chose in this topic, and I'm also going to show a series of clips that relate to these themes as well.
Our next destination takes us to the heart of the Karoo and the isolated settlement of Macenna, where a new school day is beginning. This is the Western Cape. It's home to most of the country's Afrikaans-speaking coloureds. They're a mixed-race community that is the result of 400 years of mixing between white, black and Asian. Half the children here won't finish high school. The principal blames an education department that keeps changing the curriculum.
We have to concentrate on the curriculum and not on the children. The changes in the curriculum are too much, so they want their lessons right, but they don't worry about how we are teaching or implement the curriculum to the children.
By 2007, the South African government had spent just over 5% of its GDP on education, thought to be the highest in the developing world. But while the number of schools increased across the country, the quality of education is still criticized. Before the end of apartheid, non-white children were only given the most basic education. Things have improved since then, but there's still too many children not passing their final year exams. Last year, out of more than 500,000 school leavers in South Africa, 200,000 failed. The children here are all very poor. This, for most, will be their only proper meal of the day. A decent education is the only way any of them will have a chance to escape the poverty they were born into. But improving the school curriculum is not enough.
A lot of the problems are not so much with the curriculum, not so much with things going wrong, but with the actual getting schools running well, improving the quality of leadership in schools, training principals better, providing better resources, providing money for buildings and physical resources in schooling. All of those things will contribute to changing things.
The children here come from a settlement with 90% unemployment. Even those that work hard to escape will only get to high school if their parents can afford the bus fare for the 26-kilometer journey.
Gloria Kente has been a domestic worker and a nanny for most of her working life, a job that takes her away from her family 6 days a week. In 2006, her employer's partner started abusing her verbally.
He called me kafir, a pathetic kafir, and then he just grabbed me the other day with my pajamas and he spit on my face. And he kept calling me kafir, I'm a pathetic kafir, I'm a thief, I'm stealing their land.
In 2008, Gloria laid a charge, but her abuser merely paid a fine and continued to taunt her.
And then he always say to me, I'm acting like a white woman, I forgot that I'm a black.
With help from the South African Domestic Workers Union, Gloria is taking her case to the Equality Court.
I'm happy to do this because I know there is a lot of people that are living in this thing, but they don't want to come out because we don't want to lose our jobs.
I'm from the South African Domestic Workers Union. It's not about color. It's not about whether I'm a colored. It's whether I'm a human being. Yeah. And I think we need to do that. Do you know the pain of a domestic worker? Do you know what it is to be isolated in the backyard of employers? To sit there when the employer go out with their beautiful cars and I remain in the backyard. I was there in the apartheid years. But one man came out and he forgave. And that time, when I was in the struggle,
the poor white guys.
I feel like it's wrong to be black. I sometimes ask myself, when I'm alone, why did God make me black? When a lot can happen in a good way when you are otherwise.
I went just to have a beer with mates. I'd already ordered my beer. Went upstairs to the bathroom. As I was coming downstairs, there was a couple of drunk white students. One of them called me Kaffir. I got into an altercation with him. The bouncers obviously pulled me out first because I'm black, and I don't know if that's a rule.
One thing that I realized and I took note of within Stellenbosch, that for all of a sudden when students are protesting against a language policy, it's all of a sudden immoral. But when people are getting beat up in places like McDonald's, and people are receiving threats on Facebook, it all goes silent and it's hush hush, and no one mentions that in and of itself is immoral. Excluding students for education that we all paid for, the same amount, that somehow is not immoral, but speaking against it somehow is, which is just shocking to me.
And so I made these little stickers that said, "Racists don't belong here." So I was handing out these stickers, and some of the people said to me, "Don't you think people will be offended by this?" I'm saying racists don't belong here because, everybody should belong here. Well, maybe not.
These are people who can't get degrees because they can't take courses that they need for their degree, right? Who are dropping out of the university because they can't understand the work that they're being taught.
I also have to acknowledge that the dysfunction that I see that exists in those communities is part of my historical baggage. I carry it within me. It's in my family, it's in my heart, it's in my choices. And what is worrisome is seeing people who own so much power in terms of land, in terms of resources, in terms of people you employ, in terms of the language that you've taken from these people and used to create a nation. You own so much power, but do you concede that? Do you acknowledge that? Do you own that? If you owned a little bit of that, it would be easy to come to the table with you. It would be easy to acknowledge death is death, pain is pain. I mean, there were 350 years of conscription in this country. It's only one generation of white men who didn't go into the military. How much pain exists in white families? I'd be willing to hear that more than I'm willing to hear that your pain is your pain only, because everybody in this room is carrying pain.
But I don't believe the debate from our side. 20 years into this democracy, the debate from our side has never been to negate your pain, nor has it ever been about saying that we want back to where we came from. White people voted for this democracy.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't, Sissy. No, they didn't.
Yes.
A handful. Did you vote ANC in 1994?
I'm not talking about the ANC. Please listen. In 1992, white people had a referendum to decide whether they're going to allow the vote. And we gave the vote because we thought that what was happening was wrong.
It wasn't yours to give. Do you acknowledge that? It was not your country to take in the first place, but we acknowledge the fact that you are here.
In addition to coconut, the big debate on racism reveals many parallels between South Africa and contemporary society in the United States. Both South Africa and the United States have a complicated history of racial oppression, discrimination, and violence, and both carry legacies of racism from oppressive institutionalized systems of segregation. The big debate exhibits a few of the most prominent similarities between South Africa and the U.S., including white supremacist movements, the idea that race and gender determines one's future, and violence driven by racism and xenophobia. One connection between the big debate on racism and the current state of affairs in the U.S. is the prevalence of white supremacist movements and far-right extremism. In the big debate, one such movement is Red October, represented by singer and activist Sinette Bridges. According to their website, Red October aims to draw attention to the oppression of and violence against white South Africans. Similarly to the far-right extremist movements in the United States, Bridges and Red October share the concern of whites being a minority group.